All right, what's next, Hoppy? What's next here?
What's next is shout out Cam Robinson, who very much pointed out that we've got an absolutely bonkers Calder race coming up here this season. Obviously, on the heels of the sad news that Z and I already talked about, and I don't really want to get into with that beautiful soul, Logan Cooley, leaving us. Still not fully over it, but happy for him. Happy that he's happy and want to see him torch in the most beautiful jersey in the NHL today, the Kachina. I'm probably going to have to buy that jersey. This is a problem.
I'm honestly a little disappointed Richie didn't come back at you. Richie's just too nice of a guy.
Yeah, no, I criticize it. Richie, don't be soft. Give it to me. I was mean when he stayed. You should be mean that he left. That's just how the world works.
I can't wait. I hope he's listening.
I don't think he'll do it.
I think he might.
We'll see. Maybe.
All right.
But anyway. Insane, as I said before, Calder race. It's everyone obviously knew that the 2023 NHL draft was nuts. That's really hardly contributing to it, though. Like, there's a couple of guys from 2023 class. A lot of it is guys that have been drafted in previous years that are just now reaching the NHL. And it is an absolute doozy. I mean, Isha, you can read off the ones specifically mentioned by Cam in his tweet recently. And again, in the light of Logan Cooley officially signing his entry-level contract to play for the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, well, there's so many on the list. And it's so funny how we go from a thin year, of prospects and, first year NHL players, popping in the National Hockey League. Because this last year was a thin year, right? It was a fun year overall, as, we saw teams like Boston do their thing and the East just dominate. And again, there was a lot of great storylines this year, but prospects weren't really one of them. This year, it could be complete opposite. Like, there are so many players on his list, and there could be an argument for a few more. Like, one who's not on this list is Stan Coven, right? And we were talking about that over beers today, and you were like, well, his role on the team, might not help him.
That he's playing?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, do we even know if he's playing? But there's so many names of guys who
a good reason to not be on the list.
Well, he's going to be in camp. He's going to be invited to camp. Sure. These players on the list are pretty much surefire guys to be playing for the National Hockey League in the National Hockey League on the respective teams next year. So let's just start going through some of them. We'll spend a few minutes talking about a handful of them. And Hoppy's been co-hosting an episode with Z, so he's more dialed into prospects than me. But again, these are the biggest names, so I'm excited to dive into a few of them as well. So let's just
say, if you don't know these players, that has nothing to do with
then you're not allowed to have a hockey podcast. I know, but let's just start with the obvious one. Like, Connor Bedard's on the list, and why I want to just quickly highlight him first. Yes, I know he's one of the biggest prospects to enter the National Hockey League since a Connor McDavid, but he might not win. I think he has one of the better chances to win. I think he's in the top 3 to win the Calder, but there's so many other players here whose situations are a lot more favorable, who have, decent teams around them, who've been cooking in the respective junior team, minors, whatever, but who are coming up to a good team, whereas he's going to have to help carry the Chicago Blackhawks basically offense there. Now, they tried to help him. They addressed some of their offensive woes there. I mean, him in a line with Taylor Hall, textbook Taylor Hall fashion, joining first overall picks on NHL teams. But I think he's going to be unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. I think he's probably going to be in the top 3 running. But I think a Logan Cooley, for example, I know he doesn't have the cast around him either, but he's that good where, like a Connor Bedard, he might be up there without that good team around him. What do you think about that?
So you're not going to give the list. Got it. Well, I do agree, though, with what you're saying. And what's most bizarre, I'll just give you guys from a very super ultra reliable source in sportsbettingdime.com. Don't know how the fuck I found this, but apparently Brady Tretenero is someone who made the last update for an article on it. So maybe there's some validity to it. I don't know. Connor Bedard is the highest odds, or I never know the best way to say that, but he is
Best
by
odds.
the odds the most likely to win. He is at minus 155. That is fucking insane.
Wow.
In this crop to be a minus. And the second best behind him, which I personally don't even agree with the ranking of this individual, but plus 500. That tells you anything about the class. There is some fun to be had. There is some money to be made. I will not be betting Connor Bedard, mostly based on those odds, but still, to Isha's point, it's a lot different when you got to come in and be the savior of a team. And that's not to say that it can't happen and hasn't happened. I just don't know that Taylor Hall and Lucas Reichel is like the answer, like, oh yeah, he's fitting into the perfect spot and he's going to torch, right?
Well, and Z brought it up on the last Judd's Buds episode at Spoke Z on Twitter, guys. That the Arizona Coyotes, they don't have a lot of stars, but they have some decent players, like especially in their top six, where Logan Cooley could fit in, could drive a line, could build some chemistry with some talented NHL players and actually put up some points enough to like carry the Arizona Coyotes to win enough games to get to playoffs. No, but to at least put up good numbers. Yeah, I could see that. So I just want to start with those two because I think those two right now are probably like in everyone's top two running now that Logan Cooley is going to be in the National Hockey League.
Not on these odds, but again,
but not
I'm
on those odds.
Trusting it because spoiler alert, among the 5 players that are plus 5,000 is Jesper Wallstedt, who not only is unlikely because he's probably not going to see any NHL time, but they also list him as playing for the Nashville Predators, which is a concern. I checked everything else on here checks out. They've got the right people on the right teams, but it's just like, what the fuck? And they got Leo Carlsson at plus 3,000. He's not fucking playing. So some of this is a little bizarre to me, but
again, guys, just for and again, most of you guys
included though, Isha, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
But
140.
based on what we're reading here, I don't know if that means he's actually playing or not.
Connor Bedard had 143 points last year, 71 goals in 57 games, 20 points in the playoffs in 7 games, and 23 points in 7 games in the World Junior Championship. I mean, like, it's going to be fun to see what he does at the National Hockey League level. Again, Gophers fans, they know how well Logan Cooley did in his first year this year with the Gophers. Like 60 points is unbelievable. So let's just now go through some of the other names here in Hoppy and whatever ones you want to talk about first, we can dive into after.
Well, let's just the list, right? That Cam Robinson initially gave, which is just scratching the surface because there's plenty more. But this list is bonkers. Connor Bedard, Logan Cooley, Adam Fantilli, David Jiricek, Devon Levi, Brandt Clarke, Luke Hughes, Matthew Knies, Shane Wright, Simon Edvinsson, Dustin Wolf, Olen Zellweger. Like, that's about half of the ones that are even showing up for the Calder Trophy odds, and it's just crazy to me. This is going to be so fun to watch. Like, we're going to have to do a Calder segment in every show this year, and I'm looking forward to it very much because that is a great crop. So for you, because we've already agreed, we don't necessarily agree with the current top 3 that they have for the Calder Trophy odds, especially with the numbers that are tied to them. But right now, the top 3 are Connor Bedard, minus 155, which I don't care how good this kid is. Minus 155 in this class is stupid. Luke Hughes, plus 500 of the New Jersey Devils. And Devon Levi, Buffalo Sabres, plus 900. After that, everyone is, for the most part, plus 2,000 and up. There's only 2 guys that skirt under, and those are the 2 I want to talk about because they're actually the most comparable here, Isha, being that they both just played college hockey. They both played in the Frozen Four. They both played in the toughest conference in the Big Ten. They both were nominated as members of the Hobie Hat-Trick finalists, and now they are both making their debuts. Adam Fantilli versus Logan Cooley. Who do you think has better odds to win the Calder this year?
I think Logan Cooley has better odds.
I think Logan Cooley has better odds because
it's I'm trying not to let like my bias seep in because like I have like taken a liking to the Gophers. But I think he will just get a bigger role and be leaned upon more. I think one of the reasons why he's in Arizona right now, why he signed with the Arizona Coyotes versus coming back to the Gophers, was them selling him on that, not only just on the ice, but for the organization as a whole. But back to, again, Z kind of sold me on the last podcast too, talking about like some of the players that he could potentially play with next year, as they are, I don't want to say deep, but they do have a good top six cast where I think he could mesh well with and or carry a line, which again, not necessarily carrying a team to win every single game, but I do think he's going to put up a ton of points. Whereas Fantilli, I think that the team are trying to win this year, and they might give him less freedom just to go out there and just torch offensively and be, I don't know, and just abandon defense. Like, again, maybe I'm getting too into the weeds here, but I think it's gonna be a little bit more structured versus Arizona, where it's just gonna be like, go, we need to sell fucking tickets, we need to be exciting, we're not gonna win next year, we're not even really gonna try. And again, that's, you know what I mean when I say that. They're obviously going to try.
That's very much not the case, if I'm being honest, though. Like, some of the like moves they made, like, you don't bring in Jason Zucker because you're trying to be last place, right?
No, I'm not saying they're tanking, but like I think they're realistic in like,
dude, they could be, and I'm saying they could be as good as number 6, maybe number 5 in the Central, which I think would be a big deal for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that the players care about. Because again, like, these are players that don't want to fucking lose.
No, of course.
Here's my real question then. Let's look ceiling floor, right? Who has the higher ceiling this year? Let's just assume everything goes right. And who has the lower floor to completely bottom out and do nothing? Like, do you see the same person being the highest ceiling and lowest floor, or where are you shifting those?
That's a good question. I see them having like a similar ceiling, but I feel like Cooley's floor is higher.
Again, I feel like Cooley's floor is higher because
again, I just
podcasting.
just a little bit more well-rounded in the two-way game.
Here's my answer. I pick this.
Just a little bit more well-rounded on, in the two-way game. It's not much. Like, they're very, I mean, they even had very similar points this year, in the NCAA. It's just, yeah, from what I've seen of Cooley compared to Fantilli, just a little bit more well-rounded, and Fantilli, like, could very well be the guy with the higher ceiling, but from what I've seen, like, they're very similar in that regard.
So for me, I will agree with you that Cooley has the higher floor, but I think that the higher ceiling here absolutely goes to Fantilli. Basically, I don't see a world where Cooley's not at least the 3C on this team, because there's a lot of guys that can play center or wing. Depends on how things shift out. Depends on how comfortable he is transitioning in. And Logan Cooley could very well finish the season as the 1C, playing with Keller and whoever the fuck else. I really don't care. Awesome. I look at Fantilli and the possibility, if things go right, of him being on that first line with Gaudreau and Laine. I'm sorry, man. How do you fucking match that? You aren't matching that in any possible way in Arizona. There's a possibility that Cooley's not even on the first power play, just because they do have some players with the prowess offensively and that frankly have NHL experience. I don't see a way that you don't get Adam Fantilli out there on the power play, even if he's getting sent to the bottom of the lineup. And I think Logan Cooley, like, they're both a little bit of hotheads. They run a little warm, wires cross. I just see a little bit more fuck you in Adam Fantilli's game. Like, he is the guy that was getting in people's faces, trying to fight. And I know it's a little bit different in college when you got cages and no one's looking to fight back, but like, he's got a little bit more of that fuck you to his game. And he's little heavier boy, and you just look at that offensive upside, and I think Cooley has it as well. I think you put either of them in between a Gaudreau and a Laine, like, good night, Jim Kite. But
well, and I hope we see him there. Like, I hope he ends up in that
sure.
role because
but here's where the floor comes in. His coach is Mike Babcock. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen there.
Dude,
I truly have no idea.
No, that's so true. And
I don't know if he's changed or not. He might not fucking play. He might get in the doghouse early, and he might get benched for like teaching a lesson or some shit. I don't fucking know. Mike Babcock is the X factor that scares the shit out of me. I would actually be heavily like, again, I like Logan Cooley. I maybe even like him long term as like the guy that could pan out better. But I would be fully on the Adam Fantilli train, those two going head to head this year, if not for the fact that Mike Babcock's the fucking coach.
Yeah.
And that could work in his favor if he's really changed and like can script it outright. But
no, true. He just doesn't have a good track record as rookies. Yeah.
It's scary.
But I mean, Fantilli, like you said, he's
the Jersey matchup though. Kachina against the third Jersey Cannons. Oh my God. That
for Columbus, that's awesome.
Those are the best two jerseys, period.
That's true.
Convince me otherwise.
I can't because I agree. They're awesome. And like the Cannon is a deep cut too, I feel like, because so many people are like, oh yeah, then they're like, oh, that one is good. Like no one thinks of it, right away.
Oh, Fargo. Oh yeah, you betcha.
No, but
now,
dude,
according to the sportsbettingdime.com, Fantilli is heavily favored over Logan Cooley, but again, I think some of these numbers are a little skewed. I think they should be pretty close. They've got Fantilli plus 1,000. They got Logan Cooley plus 1,800. After that, everyone's plus 2,000 and up.
Okay.
So money to be made here. Out of the rest of the list, though, we don't have to do any more like direct comparisons like that. That one just seemed like it was too easy with both where they're positioned and them being in the exact same spot in their transition. Who are some of the players that you are more interested in? We don't have to shit on the guys that we don't think have a chance. Like, who are some of the guys that you're like, yeah, this is an interesting one for me? Like, if you're going to throw money for a dart throw, looking at where these are at, and they're all plus 2,000 or higher, we don't even have to get into exactly what their numbers are. Like, who are you doing your, we'll call it the lottery throw on?
Well, I mean, Shane Wright is one that obviously has my attention. Second go now, but just wasn't ready in his first run. Went back to the OHL, absolutely torched. And I think he'll be put into a pretty good role. He'll have a good competitive camp. So I'm excited to see what Shane Wright's going to bring this year.
Okay.
Zellweger,
I personally disagree, just because I feel like they are so deep, and I just like he can come in and he can play really well, but I don't know that the high role in the lineup is going to be there and the opportunity will be there for him to truly thrive. Yeah, now, will he play the best and be the most valuable to his team? Maybe. I don't see him putting up the points to win the Calder.
It's different when a player gets called up, like a younger player like him, though, gets called up throughout the season and kind of has to build their way up. If he comes out guns a-blazing in camp and they start winning games with him in a top role, like they're probably going to keep him there most of the season. Now he'll go in the doghouse probably for a little bit, or they'll shuffle the lines for a bit. But if he comes out hot in the beginning of this season, like if he shows that like, no, like I should get these minutes, I should get this top role, which I do think he has the ceiling, he has the talent to do so, then I think there's a better chance, coming out of camp to be able to make a more positive statement than, coming in throughout the season as a call-up or whatever, or even, later than the first 2-3 months of the season. So I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I do think he could play himself into that role because he's that good.
No, and I'm not saying that he couldn't. I'm going with what I think the more likely outcome is. But no, if you told me you got a crystal ball and you saw that he ends up winning, I'm not like shocked. That's just today with what we know. That's not where my head's at personally.
I also like I like Zellweger as well, but again, with the Anaheim Ducks,
He's
like
sick. I just don't trust anything with the Anaheim Ducks,
I know
especially
that
on defense.
that's the thing. It's like, could he just put up a lot of points?
Then again,
Sure.
though, Carlsson just won the fucking Norris for one of the worst teams in the league, so who knows?
And that's why I just said, like, could he put up a lot of points? Sure, but will a lot of points win him the Calder when again there's so many names like this there?
Will he be put in a position though to succeed where like look who's ahead of him?
Yeah. No,
Come
that's
on,
true.
Canadian boy. No? You don't got it? Played World Juniors for Canada, literally flew down to join the Ducks with Zegras after Zegras beat him like the family dog. Come on. I'm going to give you a second here. You got to think a little bit.
I got
at least try.
I got his face. I don't know his name.
Do you have his face? Describe his face.
Is it the Oglethorpe looking dude?
Okay, I have no idea. What if I told you that his first name's Jamie? Oh man, he has no idea.
I'm just drawing a blank.
I think if someone's quarterbacking their power play this year, the first refusal is going to go to Jamie Drysdale.
Oh, of course.
But shout out Gopher Jackson Lacombe, who will probably be playing on the third pairing for them this year as well. It's a really young blue line, and they fucking added the absolute goober Radko Gudas,
which is a hilarious addition. But
the only established defenseman, because in my mind, I don't qualify Gudas as truly established. Like he's an NHL defenseman, but like I don't know really. Besides being big and mean and dumb, I don't know what he is. Cam Fowler is their only guy. So
yeah,
opportunities there for sure, but I feel like Jamie Drysdale is going to have the first shot at it, personally.
Cam Fowler, man, he's been with the team forever. He's one of the last
not to draft him. Shocker.
That's crazy. He's been there since 2011. Wow.
Well, you know who they took over him, right? My favorite Minnesota Wild player.
Your favorite Minnesota Wild player?
That's sarcastic.
Who did they take over? That was Granlund's year. Yeah, I was like, no, that wasn't. Dumba's year was after. He was 2012, but yeah.
Yeah. But all right. This one is another one that's very high ceiling, low floor, especially with the additions made this summer. And yeah, whatever. Fuck you. Call me making a homer pick. I still think this one's really smart for the value. Matty Knies playing for Toronto. Starting the year, very possible that he's playing on the third line, but you saw what he did in the playoffs.
That's the thing.
You know this organization feels very strongly about him. Even with Kyle Dubas gone, like he was the front man to get him in, but everyone is beyond excited about this guy. They have absolutely zero interest in trading him. A lot of people have kind of been poking around about it. It sucks that they added both Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi because the two of them could supplant him down to the third line. But I do think that if anyone falters, if there's an injury at all, Matty Knies is the guy that gets that opportunity. And all it takes is him getting put with the right line mates and showing what he can do. And he's not going anywhere because he's a guy. He's got the grit to his game. He's got the two-way aspect. He's not a hindrance offensively. He's a guy that once he gets on the first or second line and shows what he can do, he is not going back.
Do you think he'll play like second power play unit?
He's gotta. He has to. He won't be first. Let's just be honest. That's not fucking happening. But I really, if he gets pigeonholed to the third line, then yeah, he's probably not looking at true Calder contention. But it comes down to, do they give him a chance, or do they look at him and say, like, hey, someone went down, you come in and fill, and he just does well enough that they can't take him off. And that is all it takes, and he's immediately my front runner. But it's a big if. But again, we're taking dice rolls here, so I'm okay kind of taking that gamble to potentially win. If I put $100 down, I'm winning $2,000. Like, okay.
Yeah. No, you had 4 points.
I'm not advising people throwing $100 down on any of these guys for Calder, especially this year. But like, fuck it. Okay, you want to nickel and dime it? Throw $20 on it. You win $400. That's fun.
Yeah. Though, I mean, another name is Luke Hughes as well. And he's someone who I'm going to be keeping my eye on.
He's 5-1, dude. He's plus 500.
New Jersey.
In this crop, I don't fucking see it, dude. Let's just real quick. Let's pull up the New Jersey roster because I just don't see him getting the play time, man. Like, I'm not saying he won't play. Let's be clear. But right now he's slated to be paired up with John Marino in the second pairing, which good for you, buddy. That's a great spot to land. He's like, it feels weird. Like right now, Daily Faceoff in their predictions has both him and Dougie Hamilton on the first power play unit. Why? Why the fuck is that happening?
Yeah, that doesn't make
no,
sense.
and actually, sorry. Nope. There we go. The first slip up of Hughes. They have Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton listed as the defenseman. And I just saw Hughes and I locked in. I'm like, how the fuck did they have this? But then I looked and saw that Hischier was the center. I'm like, oh, this doesn't add up. Okay, I'm dumb. Got it. But you got like Toffoli, Mercer, Palat, Holtz, and Hughes on the second power play unit. Like, that's still interesting, but he's not going to play top power play minutes. He's playing second pairing. Like, can he do it? Absolutely. Like, I'm not at all counting him out, but to have him be the second highest odds seems absolutely ridiculous to me.
It depends how that, like, how that offensive core also, like, clicks in the sense of him being the primary guy to, again, in the second pairing, he won't be the primary guy, but one of the primary guys to maybe carry the puck out of the zone, start the plays. And again, if the offense clicks and it clicks through him, then he could definitely put up a lot more points than we expected going into the season. Dude, enough to win the Calder, I don't know, but it's a name that definitely has to be up there, as, you know, we talk about, you know, potential guys outside the top 5.
Top 9, and this is obviously not like set in stone for the actual line combos, but you got Hischier centering Meyer and Mercer. You've got Hughes centering Brandt and Toffoli. Then you've got Hall of Famer centering Palat and Holtz.
Dude, I like that third line.
Oh my God. Also, is Holtz eligible? I got to look him up now.
That's a good question. Dude, that's an awesome third line. Yeah, I mean, He's Jersey. A guy
that, like, it hasn't quite popped yet. It's taken him a little bit longer, but, like, I'm sorry, dude. He does not qualify. He does not qualify. Barely. So we looked it up, actually. We can talk real quick. We can pivot back if we need to, Isha, but transition to 2 Minnesota players who are also candidates that are not even listed on the odds here, which I think is blasphemous. I know you're going to swoon over who you somehow thought was better than Logan Cooley in the, how did Jake Middleton put it? Baby fat Harry Potter, Brock Faber, as well as Marco Rossi, who, under the parameters from the NHL, let me just read it here, to be considered a rookie, a player must not have played in more than 25 NHL games in any preceding seasons, nor in 6 or more NHL games in each of any 2 preceding seasons. So that means the past 2 years, has he played 1 season with 25 games or more, or across the 2, has he played at least 6 in each? Marco Rossi, 2022-2023, this past season, he got 19 games. 2021-2022, 2 games. He is a rookie.
21 games, baby.
And as soon as I see his odds get posted at plus 5,000, I'm smashing it. Dude, I am smashing Marco Rossi because there is a very possible chance. I'm not saying that it's the, like, head over heels favorite. There's a real chance that he ends up being the first line center for this fucking team. If he is playing with Zuccarello and Kaprizov, he is not failing to win the Calder. There is no
hit the nail on the head.
way. No fucking way. And again, at those odds, I'll take the chance that he either does or doesn't.
Because if he clicks with those two, it's 70 points in the
it's
bank.
Fucking done, dude. It's done.
In the 70 points up. Like 70 points minimum in the bank.
No one is talking about him as being in consideration. There's no fucking chance.
And you know what?
And I see his odds pop anywhere, I am jumping on it. Not because I think that it is like the most likely thing, like it's a lock. No. But if he gets a chance on the first line and it works at all, that's it. He wins. It's over.
Dude, he's the only player in this rookie class, in this Calder class, I should say, who has the most experience at the quote unquote highest level. He's been playing pro and he's been ripping up pro. So just saying, I know not the NHL pro, but it's absolute, out of this crop, they've all been playing in junior. They've been all playing in college, like on this list, I should say. Mm-hmm. He's the one who's had the most experience. He's the one who has been playing against the better competition. He's been the one who's been carrying his professional team at times the last 2 seasons. How considered how he isn't the front runner is beyond me, dude. It's a lock in my mind. Smash that, everybody.
Again, do not listen to him. It is not a lock. It is far from a lock. But for the odds, I will absolutely play that fucking game. I am not saying that he should be a top 5 consideration for this award. Nothing like that. But
he says top 3.
That's being disrespected. That's all.
Right. Top 3, not top 5. Top 3 consideration.
And then Isha, again, love Brock Faber, but you legitimately thought that he was better than Logan Cooley. So why don't you explain his chances of winning Calder?
I mean, I think he's a better player overall. But I don't think he's going to put up enough points to get Calder consideration.
That's what sucks. That's all they fucking care about. I don't think a defensive defenseman has ever even sniffed getting in. So he's really got no chance, which is a bummer. In a thinner class, maybe.
Yep.
But there's just too many guys. Someone's going to put up the points.
Hoppy, if he played last year, he probably would have won it. Honestly.
He could have.
With 35 points, he probably could have won. 35, 40 points, he probably could have won it. And if Brock Faber, gets 35 to 40 points this year, and continues.
Last year he would have had to play third pairing though, because there's no way they were going to split up Jimmy and Dumbs. So
that's true. So maybe not. But
still unsigned, by the way.
Yes,
which people are freaking out about. Again, he's got a signed contract waiting in the top desk drawer for Bill Armstrong. If things don't work out, he's just waiting to see what happens with all the kerfuffle around Erik Karlsson. That's it.
Who's freaking out? Like Wild fans are freaking out about it. Like the page is turned. It's over. He's not coming back.
But there's people that are just like, how is he not signed? How does this make any sense? I'm not going to call out specific names. It's just I've seen it from multiple people, and
got you.
I'm just like, no, it makes total sense. He's waiting to see what happens with other teams shuffling around.
And if
it doesn't work out, then he goes to Arizona and probably gets the same deal as Zucker, like a 1-year, $5 million deal. Go in, have a fun year, whatever. And then next year, when the cap goes up a little bit and some teams have players fall off the books, he can hopefully get a slightly bigger deal.
And there's always...
And who knows? Maybe he signs long-term in Arizona.
Yeah, there's always stragglers in the summer. Every year, there's always a few. There's always players who are like, why aren't they signed yet? And there's always players who... the reason that they're not signed is because the shoe hasn't dropped on the big names. And in this year, in this case, it's that of a Carlsson, for example. This year, it's, one of Minnesota Wild's own, well, formerly anyways, Matt Dumba. So obviously it's a little bit more news worthy to the fan base here. No, it's when you told me about this tweet from Cam Robinson, again, not quite a Vancouver Islander as he lives off an island on Vancouver Island, but a good old BC
Sounds
boy.
Like Cam more Robinson. Of a Vancouver Islander. He's literally on an island of an island. Well, it's like Inception.
I forget the name of the broken islands there, but there's actually a name for it. But anyway, shout out to Hockey_Robinson on Twitter. He does amazing work working with elite prospects and a few other outlets as well, especially come draft time, but just all year. He's a great follow.
Dude, there's few guys that Z speaks more highly of, really. Like
exactly.
Guy knows his shit.
No, he is awesome. So go check him out on Twitter. And again, as soon as Hoppy brought this list to my attention, one last thing I want to highlight before we wrap up here: there's two goalies on this list, and I get Levi. If he becomes the starter for Buffalo and they do well this year, as you know, I do expect them to be a good team this year and to be really hard to play against. Then there's obviously that possibility. Do I think a goalie gets it in a class as deep as this with as many talented offensive guys in this class as there are? No, and it's kind of the same conversation as like looking at Faber. It's like you really have to like be like the best goalie in the league, not just in the Calder class or just in that Calder class.
All right, answer a couple questions for me. Do you think he plays more than half the games?
Yes.
Saying it's an even split's not allowed. Does he?
No, yes. I'll say yes. I'll say yes.
Okay. Do the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs?
Fuck. See, that's what's tough because it's like, because obviously like the East is so deep this year.
Do they make the playoffs?
Yes, they'll make the playoffs.
Then I think he's top 3 no matter what.
Okay.
And then it comes down to, does anyone have like a crazy year? Like if the highest rookie scorer is like 60 points and Levi plays more than half the games and the Buffalo Sabres make it to the playoffs for the first time in fucking since cavemen were like drawing Buffalo on the side of their walls, like he will win.
Okay.
Now, again, if Bedard, Cooley, Fantilli, any of them like have a 70+ point season,
Rossi.
it's going to go to them. It's going to go to them, right? But if we're talking like roughly 60 or less, and we hit those boxes that I just walked you through for Levi, I think he wins it. I think it's really hard not to give it to him.
No, and fair enough. What's interesting?
Depends on what the numbers look like, right? If it's his team just dominating and like, bailing him out,
of course.
Whatever. But if he puts up respectable numbers, gets them to the playoffs, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are voting that are going to have a hard time not picking him.
Dude, like,
and it works in his favor because think about it though. A lot of people will have him among their top 3. Maybe no one really puts him number 1, but with the amount of guys there are to debate between, there's going to be some guys that don't get any top 3 votes.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some that like, yeah, they get like a handful of first, but then no one else puts them 2 or 3. Like it just puts him in a unique position that he could do it as long as there isn't
if he has especially playing in the East, if he has like an under 3 goals against average and like 92 save percent like that, and they're winning.
Dude, if he's above 91 flat, I think that's all it takes.
Yeah. But anyways, the last, like I said, there's 2, and this is great that we like talked about him in such high regard there, because on the other end is a goalie in the Calgary Flames system, Dustin Wolf, who probably won't get too many games this year. I mean, assuming Markstrom is not banged up again, but it's interesting that Cam put him on this list anyways, showing that he's that fucking good, and he's on a team right now where he's likely not going to get any time to play. So
supposedly,
is he someone who could potentially be on the move after that first, 15, 20 games in the National Hockey League when we see that first wave of musical chairs?
On the move, meaning like traded?
Yeah.
No, he's not going.
You think with Markstrom tied up, Calgary Flames is not going to maybe try to dangle that to fill another position?
If anything, they'll try and move Markstrom because they're not in a position to win now. Their team has been decimated. They've got guys trying to leave. They're not going to be able to re-sign their number 1 center, who's the last piece of that stud line that is all left. They're not keeping Noah Hannafin. They've got a lot in flux right now, a lot of changes. Why not turn the page, send Markstrom to someone else? Maybe that helps both them and Markstrom, and roll with Wolf. That's more likely to me than the possibility of them trading Wolf. I don't think you trade young goalies. That just doesn't make sense. I mean, if someone comes to you with a no shit offer, then yeah, you have to. But that's different. You're just saying in a vacuum, like, oh, what if they decide that it's just time to trade him? And it's like, no, don't do that. I don't see that happening, especially when he can be the backup. Why not?
So Cam Robinson clearly put him on this list because he also thought Markstrom would be traded. And clearly Dustin Wolf is just going to carry the Calgary Flames into the playoffs this year in that somewhat weak division, and that's why I probably put him on this list.
I will very much bet against that. Just a part of
no, it's just so
making the
interesting to see
playoff,
that there's
that's
two
all.
goalies on the list. Yeah, it's just so interesting to see that there's two
No,
goalies
it was,
on this
it was
list.
all about symmetry, man. He couldn't just do an odd number of goalies. There had to be two. And again, kid can play, and you never know. Like, maybe he gets a chance and never looks back, but that one's a little bit tougher for me to believe.
Now, I think that one's like the lowest on the list.
If what you said comes true and they do make the playoffs, he leapfrogs Levi, because it'd be way more of a gargantuan task to get the Flames there. I just don't see that even being a possibility. I think the Sabres make the playoffs this year. When we do our rankings show a couple weeks before the season starts, like, I will have the Buffalo Sabres making it.
I want them. I'm undecided if I put them in the playoffs yet. Like, I'm going to be cheering for them, but when it comes to our rankings show, I'm still undecided, but we'll see. We'll see.
That we will.